Yo, 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 what is up, my dudes? So, here is the mowing footage that everyone has been asking for. Side story, I had actually had my friend come with me on this day, and I mowed 10 yards, and I had him film everything. He took all these cool angles, he put all this effort in, and then we got home. The next day, I went to go buy a new iPhone, and when I was transferring all the documents, I have no idea, but I lost all the footage except for this one specific yard. I have no idea why it happened. Maybe it's fate, maybe it's destiny. I would personally not have shown this yard because it's not what the rest of my yards look like. This is just a really big front yard. Most of my yards have a front yard half this size, and this looks like a big yard. And if all my yards were this big and wide, I would just get a riding mower or a zero turn standard, but they're not, so that's the background on this specific yard. So I have a funny story about this specific mowing footage as well. After this workday was over, after my friend went home, I was sitting down and I was watching the videos, and before I did that, I did something, but I ended up watching the videos, and it was one of the most crazy feelings ever. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience looking at myself from the third person mow, because for the past 5 years, I've just been mowing with tunnel vision all the time. I'm just an animal when it comes to scheduling yards, quoting, knocking out the 10 yards in a row. I just do it, but to actually see myself mowing for the first time in 5 years, it was really wild. And it's something I think you guys should do if you've never seen yourself in the third person, either working or just even walking or living your life. I think it's very eye-opening, and it was crazy when I was watching myself mow. I was just sitting there thinking, is this what I've been doing for the past 5 years? I was having all these crazy existentialist thoughts, but ultimately I enjoyed it very much, and I loved seeing myself, and now I know what I can improve on even better after seeing myself do these yards, not just from my eyeballs, but from the eyeballs of somebody else. Or from the eyeballs of God, or the eyeballs of all the grass blades I'm chopping down, however you want to look at it. So all that stuff out the way, let me let you know about how I service my yards. So the very first thing that I did while I was telling you all that crazy stuff is I started mowing from one spot, and I did 2 perimeter sweeps of the entire yard. So by doing the 2 perimeter sweeps, what that allows you to do is right here. You don't have to go all the way to the curb to do your turns. If the yard is wet or if there's lots of weeds and you keep going onto the curb every turn, you're going to leave stains and marks and tire marks on the sidewalk or driveway. So by doing the perimeter mow, and especially the second perimeter mow because it basically just gives you a bigger cushion, you can do these turns after your stripes and not get the wheels and dirt, weeds, all that stuff onto the sidewalk or pavement. So we've maybe done about 5 or 6 stripes here, and to be honest, like I said, this is one of my biggest yards, and it may look like I'm walking a lot, but in all honesty I'm not, and it doesn't feel like I am. It just looks like a big yard because of the angle, and look, I'm kind of running because the yard's going downhill. But after you do the 2 perimeter stripes, you just begin striping. It's straightforward. If there's a tree in your way, just go around it. If there's a planter box, just go around it and continue back to your awesome, beautiful stripes. And because I know you're super curious, this is kind of St. Augustine grass, kind of weedy, and I'm mowing it at 2.5 inches. No discharge because I just sharpened my blades and the mower is killing it. So just finished the little main yard. Now I'm going to move on to the side yard. The side yard's more so just weedy. So I cut the property line. Make sure you do them fine, straight property lines because that's very importante. And since the tree is in the middle of the yard, I basically just cut that yard into 2 sections, the back and then the forward section. So now I just did the perimeter and I'm striping the back side. And I think I'm about to cut around the tree. Yeah! So I cut around the tree, and now I go back to my stripes. And again, this yard's kind of weedy. I don't think this homeowner waters their yard at all, but it's their life. They can do what they want. I tell them they should water, I tell them they should fertilize, but ultimately it is up to them. Damn, so we're already done mowing. I believe that was not even, it was maybe like 4 minutes. I'm looking at the entire footage right now, and I had the little skateboarding intro. It says I'm at 5 minutes and 10 seconds, so I would say that was maybe 4 to 5 minutes of mowing the entire front yard. So now we are getting ready to pick up our second ninja tool, and we are gonna trim and edge. So the order of operations I always do personally is mow first, then trim, then edge, then blow. Some people weedy and edge first, then mow, and that's good if you have lots of scraggly pieces of grass or debris that you want the mower to clean up. But if it's a weekly or bi-weekly, there's usually not a big mess, so I just prefer mowing. That's what I've always done, and it works for me. So when I pick up the trimmer, the first thing that I do is I go and I trim around all the central obstructions, which means the trees, planter boxes, ornaments. I'll trim around all those things so I could then begin going around the perimeter with the weed eater. So while I'm doing that, let me tell you about the pricing of this yard. So this is a $45 bi-weekly front yard only. They do have a backyard, but it's a lot of planter boxes and weeds, and I only trim it maybe once a month, but the bi-weekly is always for the front yard. So 45 bi-weekly, and they always tip me 5 because I'm cool. So they actually give me 50 in this yard. As you can see from the total length of the video is around 10 minutes, $50. And you might be thinking, how in God's name are you charging 45 for a front yard that takes 10 minutes? And I will explain that to you happily. So when this customer called me a couple months ago, I was at my peak of customers. I'm a solo operator, and 50 is my sweet spot. When I have 50 customers, I'm good. That's more than enough money to make my living, have fun, do cool 26-year-old half Filipino guy stuff. And when somebody calls me when I'm at my peak of 50 customers, I'm going to throw out a decently higher price than average because I'm not trying to get work. And in fact, I'd rather just focus on what I have. So if this would have been $30 to me in the beginning, this is now a $45 or $50 yard because I am peaked with work and I'm not dying for customers. But I'll still throw out a quote. If the customer wants to take me up on it, then you know your boy's going to be out there to do it. So I threw these people a $45 quote and they said, let's do it. So I said, all right, cool, let's do it. And now you're seeing me do it.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Dun, 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 dun. Over there by the tires in the car, it's kind of dirty because they always drive over it, so I started edging from behind the car. And pro tip, I don't know about Echo because I'm only a steel guy, but it's easier to walk backwards with a trimmer. I think Echo is the same. I think it spins in the same direction. But the benefit to walking backwards is that the debris is not spat at your face. If you were to walk forward with it, I find that all the debris and rocks always goes towards my face. But by walking backwards, the debris is going away from you. It's kind of awkward, and it takes a little bit of time to master. But just like driving a vehicle or cooking a souffle, it just takes practice, and eventually you'll become good at it. Some people walk on the grass as they edge. I also walk on the sidewalk. I think the grass might be better because of the angle, but I always end on the sidewalk, so it looks good for me. The lines are straight, and that's what works. Some yards I might go on the grass just depending if it's a first time or if it's a different type of grass. So here I am blowing. Took me 3 pulls to start. Don't judge me. I'm not perfect, but neither are you. And as I'm blowing, I simply just blow all the debris back into the yard. Of course, it's just grass blades and little speckles of dirt. If it was a first time yard or an overgrown yard and there's a bunch of stuff lying all over the street and sidewalk, I would rake it up. I'd rake up a majority of it, then put it into a trash can or a tarp and haul it off. But since this is just a bi-weekly recurring yard, there's not a lot of debris, and I just blow it back into the yard. I have a BR600 steel backpack blower, but I don't like using it. I like using the BG86 because it's much more convenient, easier to use. It's much easier to blow underneath vehicles, and it's all the power that I need for my tiny little residential model. Getting all the little stuff out of the sidewalks that accumulated over time, and I'm gonna put that back into the yard as well because it's just leaves and dirt. Blowing the yard, blowing the yard, blowing the yard. Thinking about what I'm gonna eat after this. Maybe a pizza for lunch because YOLO. Alright, almost making the victory lap. There was some stuff on the sidewalk, but that's just, how do you say it? It's just the leaves staining from sitting there, and there's a bunch of water and sunlight hitting it. Thumbs up. Done. So that was mowing, trimming, edging, and blowing right there. Now it's time to take care of my sick chickens. That's right, I'm a chicken farmer, but they all have the flu, so if any of y'all have chicken advice, I would really appreciate it. What do you gotta say about that?
Chickens are for real. Gotta show them some love. Keep them going.
Deuces.